Hello, welcome to a modified version of the change curve. I hope when you look at this curve that it will help you understand and accept the emotional journey that you will experience as you come to terms with the diagnosis of breast cancer and deal with the disease and its treatment. On the left hand side here you can see that we have our level of confidence or our feeling of self-worth or our level of effectiveness, and whether they're low or whether they're high. And across the bottom there you can see the period of time. Now this length of time cannot be prescribed because everybody will go through this change transition curve at their own pace. Some people may move through it quite quickly, some people may take a long time to come through it, and other people may move forward a little bit and go back a little bit before they start moving forward again. So let's make a start. When we're first diagnosed with cancer, our level of effectiveness will take a knock, and our feeling of confidence may take a dip too. We'll go into a state of shock. And at this point, we may be immobilised and not be able to do anything, or we may go into a period of frenetic activity, doing lots and lots of things to just sort of block out the fact of what's happened. There'll be panic might set in, disbelief that the diagnosis has come through as positive. We may feel angry. As the shock begins to wear off, our level of effectiveness or our confidence goes back up again, and we go into what's called a period of retreat. And at this point, we're trying to deny really that the reality is there. We're trying to block it out. Maybe the doctor made a mistake, maybe we'll get a phone call and we've got somebody else's results, or the lump really isn't cancerous. And so we go back to doing what we always did, because we don't want to face the reality of our situation. But as the reality sets in, we go into a period of self-doubt. And all sorts of things are going through our head at this point. And as you can see, when we've got this self-doubt going on, our level of confidence or our self-worth or our level of effectiveness has gone down. And there'll be blaming going on. We might be blaming ourselves. What if I hadn't been on the pill for so long? What if I hadn't used HRT for as long as I did? What if I'd never smoked? What if I hadn't eaten all that rubbish food all those years? What if I hadn't drunk so much? What if I hadn't spent years in and out of smoky pubs and smoky clubs? There's a lot of anger happening sometimes around this self-doubt, anger at ourselves or anger at somebody else. And there's a fear for the future, fear of the unknown. And all the time all this stuff's going on in our heads, we're not as effective as we perhaps were, and maybe our confidence has taken a knock. And as we move away from self-doubt, we're continuing down the way in terms of our level of confidence or our level of effectiveness, and we hit our lowest level, this feeling of apathy. And at this point, we're perhaps depressed. There's not much activity going on. We don't want to do much. We just don't feel in the mood to do the exercise we would normally do, or to go and do all the jobs that we would normally do. Maybe we don't have the energy to do it. Maybe we withdraw from people or feel vulnerable in some way. So this is at our very lowest point, and who knows how long we may stay at this lowest point for. But we will eventually come through this period of apathy, and eventually we hit a period called resolve. And this is where we start to accept that yes, we've had breast cancer, and there's nothing we can do about it, and maybe it wasn't our fault, it's just happened. So we start to feel a little bit more positive, and we maybe start to do a little bit more activity than we've done in the last week or the last few months. But that activity can be undirected activity. We're not quite ready to make any plans, but we just feel that we want to start doing things. And as this feeling increases, so too does our level of effectiveness. Our confidence is beginning to rise again as well. And we hit the period called taking stock. And at this point, maybe we're trying to search for why we got cancer. What are we supposed to take from this? What lessons can we learn from the fact that I've experienced this? It's been quite life-changing with all the things I've gone through, and what does it mean for me? And the activity that we do becomes a little bit more structured and more meaningful, and we maybe start completing more of the things that we start. And our level of effectiveness continues to rise, our confidence gets better and stronger, our feeling of self-worth returns, and we start to set new goals. And maybe here we have an action plan and we start to follow it. We feel far more energized and we have complete acceptance of what's happened to us. These new goals may just be picking up the life we had before we were diagnosed with breast cancer, but perhaps it's a completely different life to the one we had before. Maybe we want to slow that life down again. Maybe we want to change our lifestyle to increase the possibility of not having the cancer return. So let's just take a look now at the overall graph and reflect a moment on the first four parts on this graph. These are the negative elements, and they're driven by our emotions. When I was first diagnosed, I can remember the day I went into that state of shock, and within a few hours of having that diagnosis given to me, I phoned a friend, and out was coming all this negative stuff about, I want to be here for my son and he needs me, and what if I don't see him grow up, and I think that's a natural reaction to the diagnosis, and cancer can kill, and it still does kill. And I was seeing the negative side of cancer, and my friend wanted to try and G me up and wanted to just say something that would help me. So she said, well, you can't think like that, you must be positive. Well, I'm sorry, but I was at that point of shock, and being positive is about being on the right side of this curve. I wasn't ready to be positive, so she completely misunderstood what my needs were at that point. And I just had this huge sense of, I'm talking to somebody who's not understanding. She hasn't been there and experienced it, and she can't understand what's happening to me. And I just closed down really, and just couldn't share what was going on anymore. And throughout the whole journey that I went through, there were times when I wished I'd had this curve that I could show people to help them help me better. The people that helped me the most were the ones that said to me, I don't know what to say. And my comment back was, I don't want you to say anything, because there's nothing you can say, I just want you to listen. So when we're driven by the emotional part of our brain, we're not going to think straight, and that emotional part is so strong that it will keep pulling us back, but we will eventually move forward. And although we may go back a little bit sometimes, we will keep taking small steps towards the future. And the future part, these three on the right hand side, are about being positive, and that means we're in control of our emotions again. The thinking part, the rational part of our brain has started to kick in again. And when we think about this change curve, we don't just have one change going on in our lives. You may have had any number of changes that you were experiencing before the diagnosis, and then you have this breast cancer dumped on top of what you're experiencing. But even within breast cancer, it has its main change curve, but then within it, you have how you cope with the operation. Maybe you need more than one operation. You lose your independence. Other people need to help you, to drive you places, or to maybe do things around the house for you. And maybe you're not used to not having your independence. Maybe you don't like relying on people. Maybe you can't sleep at night because it's uncomfortable. Maybe the wound won't drain, and you're wondering when you'll ever get to the stage when it does feel comfortable again. So that's another change going on within the overall change. And then you start your chemo, and you've got the whole process of the cyclical way of chemo, and towards the end of the 3 weeks you might start feeling better, and then you've got to go through it all again. And so chemo really is very much an up and down state of your emotions and how you deal with it. You've also had to perhaps experience hair loss. Most people with a lot of the drugs will lose their hair, and that for a woman can be very, very upsetting and causes a sense of apathy. And we may be feeling down about losing our hair, but quite upbeat about the whole treatment. Well, no wonder our emotions are all over the place, because we're at different parts of the curve. And then the radiotherapy may cause you problems, and you may think, right, the minute that's finished, I'll be able to get back to work. Maybe you won't be able to get back to work straight after radiotherapy, and you need to take more time off. So we could be all over the place with this change curve. But you need to be kind to yourself and accept that whatever you're feeling, are legitimate feelings and okay to be there. And don't have other people making you feel that you should be moving on past those feelings. You'll move on when you feel you're ready to. So let me just summarise here. You will travel along the curve at your own rate. Don't look at other people and think, well, they're more positive about what happened to them, I should be there as well. You stay where you feel is the right place for you, and you come through it in your own time. You will get there. And remember, you may go forwards, you may also go backwards a number of times. You may take smaller steps backwards than going forwards. It may be a slower journey for you moving forwards. And there may be a number of curves happening at the same time for you. At the end of some of your changes, life may be different. And that's not to say that it'll be bad different. It could be good different. But you need to embrace the life that you have at the end of this journey of experiencing breast cancer. And just remember that for most of us now, there is a future after breast cancer. You may need help to get there, and it may take time, but you will get there. I hope you find this video useful for you, and please feel free to share it with your family and friends, because it's important at a time when you do have breast cancer that you have the right support around you, and that support means emotional support as well, and that's all they want to do is give you the right support, but sometimes they need a little bit of guidance to help them know just what that support should be.